Back live with you tonight, you're in Focus. The founder of Transform Education about Rape and Sexual Abuse Foundation says South Africa should act with a more visceral approach to fighting gender-based violence. This comes as South Africa observes 16 days of activism for no violence against women and children. In a published article, Tears founder Mara Glennie says authorities need a better approach to confronting violence against women, girls and children. She joins us now to share the options available against gender-based violence and femicide. Mara, good evening. Good to have you, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for inviting me. And I have to say, it's sad to be here to celebrate 16 days of activism, 16 days when we're celebrating that nothing's happening in our country to still the onslaught of gender-based violence.
As we launch this 16 days of activism, Mara, we will see a lot of journalists, we will see a lot of academics, we will see a lot of community-based organizations, influencers, hashtags, social media interaction, even read a newsletter from the president talking about this 16 days of activism. But do you get a sense that is enough in terms of really bringing attention to this matter?
Well, I can answer that question two ways. First of all, I was on your channel 2 years ago, and I had a T-shirt printed that said, "This interview will change nothing." So that's my answer. People need to take action firmly. I'm a survivor of intimate partner violence. 7 women a day are killed in our country through interpersonal partner violence. However, we are still not addressed the issue. And I purposed to start an organization, which I have, Tears. We've been going for 10 years to help women in the country. And there are many, many more women like me and men out there fighting the scourge. But we don't get the support that we need. We have to do more together.
So I was in conversation with one minister yesterday in the presidency, and I raised this issue of the statistics, 10,000 women reporting rape, 989, I think, that have been murdered, and thousands more reporting attempted murder. And one of the things that comes out of those statistics is that much of this comes from intimate partner violence. So it's happening within the household. And of course, government saying, well, there's very little that police can do about that because it happens behind closed doors. What's your view?
Well, of course, it happens behind closed doors. And I personally pushed the panic button for my alarm when I was busy fighting for my life. And when the armed security came, they said they can't help me because it's a family matter. So first of all, I think that we need to educate people. Secondly, we need to help women to leave their situations that are difficult. So let me just say right now, we do not have enough shelters in our country. And some of you that are watching this might be shocked to learn that you can only stay in a shelter between 6 and 7 months. Then you have to leave. And if you are not economically active, or you haven't, in my case, I had to learn to drive again. I lost all my confidence. And I know many other people have experienced that loss of confidence that I did. So where does a woman who has lived in a shelter for 6 or 7 months, lost her confidence or her means of making a living go? So unless we address the very basic issues like safe homes for women to go to when they've been abused, the scourge will continue, irrespective of where it happens.
Yeah. You have very little faith in the minister, it seems, particularly when it comes to the matter of addressing the backlog of DNA testing.
Well, only time will tell, but I happen to have seen some of the latest statistics of how many cases are or tests are in arrears, and unless we work all hours of the day, every single day until the promised date in January, I'm afraid it didn't seem that it's physically possible to me. So we have rapists on our street because the DNA has not been analyzed. We have rapists who are still committing rapes. And so it is a very dangerous world that we live in.
You're saying you feel angry in your statement because gender-based violence is framed as a women's issue. Please highlight for me those pitfalls that you are seeing in how we are framing the conversation and how we could better frame this conversation.
Well, it's my opinion that all of us should see it as our problem. It's not a woman's issue. It's a societal issue. I listened to a program the other morning talking about the increase, as an example, I'd like to say, I listened to a program on how there's an increase in hijackings and robberies from cars. And the question, or the presenter was posing, there goes another car with the window open, looking to be robbed. And I'm asking myself the question, surely we should be saying, where are the police at this busy intersection so the members of our community can freely drive in this area? So I think that is the difficulty. We need to take responsibility. We need to call on the police because the minister has made a number of unfortunate statements, which have been well publicized. And I happen to know I helped the women that were raped, the Krugersdorp rape victims, as they are now unfortunately called, and I arranged for them to go to a private hospital. So I've come to the stage, you say, don't I believe the people? No, I don't. Because if every year I deal with more and more women who, like myself, have been raped or abused. And I find that the help is just not forthcoming. And since we've been using our service, which is for 8 years, we've helped 500,000 callers. That's one little small NGO, and I know I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
So we seriously need to take action to help women. I think that women are desperate to change the lot. Because do you know that if you have been abused, suffered intimate partner violence as I did, you have difficulty going back to work. And we have such an emphasis on making women economically viable in this country so they can sustain themselves. So unless we all pull together, unless we understand that it's a societal problem, not a woman's problem, not a men's problem, a South African person's problem, I'm afraid I don't see a lot of hope in us getting it right.
So the other day, we, of course, held another gender-based violence summit, president-led initiative. He was there. He listened. There were ministers that were there, and there were organizations, gender-based violence activists that were there, very angry at the ministers, very angry at the non-delivery. Are we looking at the wrong people to deliver us from this? I mean, are we looking at politicians who will bolster the collective action? Should we be looking at them, or is it time that we change our focus from really hammering at them and looking at them to bring some kind of solution to this?
Well, it is a great difficulty because one of the calls from that conference was that we need greater accountability. So if we look at the GBV Response Fund 1 that President Ramaphosa called on industry to fund, there has still not been full reporting on where the funds have been allocated. So until we account for every cent that was given, and I read the write-ups of what the money should be allocated to do, so I'm saying, with my other activists who were present at that meeting, we expect accountability for the money that is put into gender-based violence. We want to see the results because we on the ground don't see the funding and we don't see the results. Because quite honestly, if you are given 50,000 Rand from the GBV Response Fund, what can you do with 50,000 Rand? I'm not saying we're not grateful for funding that we get, but let's get real. Who can you employ for that money? What rent can you pay? We are an underfunded and undervalued sector, and that's why so many of my fellow activists were furious at the meeting. And in answer to your question, I don't see how those people can possibly understand what it's like on the ground. Even their electricity is being paid. So they're not in touch with the reality. And I, for one, never want to forget what it's like to be in the police station, trying to get help and you can't get it. And that's the majority of the women in South Africa.
Are we angry enough? Are we outraged enough? Do we express that anger enough at what we see? I mean, just before I came into a conversation with you, I at least read 2 stories of gender-based violence that are currently in our courts.
Well, no, I don't think we're angry enough, but the difficulty is that people on the ground, such as myself and many others in the country, we have to balance fighting for money because we don't have enough money to pay our rent and our staff, fighting with the police or other organs of government for justice for the victims that we are assisting, and then fighting for survival. And so until we are supported and we don't have to do so much bushfire fighting left, right and center, I think that we're in terrible trouble.
Mara, appreciate your time and thank you for coming on and highlighting this issue and your intervention tonight.
Can I please just in closing say, if anybody that's watching this program needs help, we've got a 24-hour free line. If you dial it now on your phone anywhere in South Africa for free, you will get through to somebody, and it's *134* 7355#, *134* 7355#, and you will get a call back today.
*134* 7355#, you'll get help today.